Okay, so here we are at part 4, and this will be the final part of the workflow series with the rabbit. And I did get a bit sidetracked, went into a lot of depth in the digitising in part 3, so hopefully you gained something from that and it wasn't too boring for those of you who already digitise quite well. But there are a lot of beginners out there, so hopefully it was helpful as well. Now, I'm going to go a lot faster through the final objects that need to be digitised, so we can get on to the important part, which is optimising your design for stitch out. And that is a very important part of the workflow, the optimisation. Now, there's only a few areas that need digitising: the outlines, the little details for the toes, and the whiskers. And I'm going to leave the whiskers till last because I want them to stitch on top of the outlines. Now, I do have a video that goes into depth about doing the outlines for version 8 and 9, and also for version 7. You have to do it a little bit differently in version 7, and I'm only going to show how to do it in version 9 today. So if you want to do this exercise and you have version 7, then you need to watch that video. I will put a link in the description below. Okay, so let's get on with it. Now, the outlines need to go around to define the areas around all the body parts, but we don't need to outline the eyes, the nose, or the mouth. So we need to select those other objects, the body and the ears. So if we go to our colour film, and I'm in colour blocks mode, so I'm going to select the first part of the body, and I'm going to scroll down to select the last parts of the body and head and ears just before the eyes start. So I'll put my shift key down and select that one, and all of those are selected. You'll get a pink outline around them in True View, but if you want to be absolutely sure, go out of True View and you'll see what you've selected. Then we're going to go to our edit toolbox, and you've got this in Creator Level 2. You haven't got all these tools, but you do have an outlines and offsets tool. So you just need to click on that. A dialog will open, and we're going to make sure we've got single in the drop down menu here. We can choose a color here, and I've chosen black. The important button to click here is this one on the right, the trimmed outlines, because of the nature of the objects. They're overlapping objects, and we don't want double outlines over everything. So this trimmed outlines one is the one to use. Make sure you've got a check mark in the object outlines box. Make sure there's no check mark in the offset outlines box. Come down here, and I put sharp corners. I chose sharp corners here. I don't want any rounding off. I want them to actually follow all the little contours in my shapes, and there's no holes, so I don't need to include holes, and I'll just go OK. It just takes a little while, and then the software will generate all those outlines for you. If I go to True View, you can see that was so quick and easy, wasn't it? Now, I do want to put a few little defining lines down here in the feet, and so I'm going to bring back my image, which is hidden at the moment. So I'm going to show the bitmap, and I'm going to go out of True View so I can see what I'm doing. Now, if I hide the needle points, that will be even better. And I need to click right on the black outline to start all of these little lines. So I need to really see where I am here. Now, it is confusing with all the stitches showing. So what I'm going to do is hide the stitches for everything. So I'm going to make sure I've got my outlines showing, and I'm going to hide the stitches. And now I can just see the outlines, and I can see the picture really clearly. So I'm going to grab my digitize single outline, open object, and make sure I've got single outline, and make sure I've got the color black selected by clicking on the black. And then I can find the exact point here where I want to click. I can left click there, then I can zoom back out again. I'm just scrolling my mouse wheel, and it doesn't matter what order you do these in, and I'm just going to right click to add a little curve and another left click and enter. So it's as easy as that to do these little lines. I'm going to go ahead and do those and come back when they're done just to speed the video up, but you can take your time to do those. Okay, so I've digitized all of those. You can see I've got my show connectors on, so you can see where these lines start and end. The triangles are the ends and the circles are the start. The reason the start is up here on this one and not down here where I started to digitize it is because it's applying closest join. So it's swapping round the start and end points of those lines to be closest to the end point of the previous line. That's okay, because we're going to do another step to get rid of all the jump stitches. Now I'll show you what I mean by jump stitches. I'm going to hide the image and I'm going to bring back my stitches, and you can see here that we've got jump stitches from all these spots, which is really messy. Now there is a tool we can use to get rid of those. There's two tools in version Designer Plus versions. One is the Blackwork Run and the other is the branching tool. The branching tool is new to version 9, so you haven't got that in version 8. So I'll show you both methods, one after the other. Creator Level hasn't got the Blackwork Run tool either, so they have to use the branching tool. So let's have a look at the branching tool first. They work very, very similar. So what we need to do is select all those objects, the outlines and all those toes. Now at the moment they're separated on the colour film. So I'm going to select all the toe parts and I'm going to move them up one colour. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go to individual objects because I want all these to stitch after the nose and mouth. And it's going to be a good idea to have the eyes stitch after that too. So I can actually go into colour blocks and move all of these objects, the outline and the eyes, etc., down one colour. Okay, so they're all down here now. Now if I go to individual objects and come down to those black objects, I've got the eye parts stitching in the middle between the toes and the outline. So I'm going to move just those. So I'll select the first eye part and I'm going to select the last eye part. So that's the last eyelash with my shift key down. So all those eyes are selected and I'm going to move them up above these outlines. So I'm just going to keep going up back by one object until I get above those outlines. Have I got any more to go? No, I'm in the right spot now. So now all the outlines, starting with the body and all the earpieces and all the toes, are right at the end. I can select the first one of those, hold my shift key down, select the last one. I've got all those outlines selected. Now I can use the branching tool. So we go to our edit toolbox and click on the branching tool, and down in the prompt bar here you will see the words enter an entry point. So we need to find a point that's, we're going to have a tie in and a tie off with the entry and exit points. So we want to find somewhere that it's not going to be really obvious. Probably down here near the feet somewhere. We'll enter. And then it's asking us to enter an exit point. And it's scrolling because I moved my mouse on auto scroll. So probably over here. That means that the tie out won't be right next to the tie in, so it'll be less obvious. Maybe down here under this foot. And with one quick, or a couple of quick clicks, you can see all those jump stitches missed. Now, if I go to the player, let's just put it in true view. And let's go to our stitch player, which is up here at the on the toolbar here. I can left click on that. It'll start stitching all these objects. Actually, I'm going to pause it and turn off the outlines so that they're not there. And I'm going to move this bar here along till I get to the black. There we are. We're just starting to stitch the eyes now. They won't take long. Okay, now you can see that the outline started here where I entered that entry point, and it's backtracking. So you will in fact get like a double run on all of these objects because it needs to backtrack to get to all the areas. So it will be a little bit bolder, which will be nice. Now it's coming back down to do those little toes. So there you go, just stitches continuously with no jump stitches. Now I'll just close that stitch player by stopping it, and I'll undo. So if I go out of true view, you can see I've got all my jump stitches back because I undid one step, so I'm no longer branched. You cannot break a branched object apart, so you need to undo it if you've made a mistake. So if you haven't had these properly connected, they might not be included in that branching because you weren't close enough to when you clicked on the outline down here. So if you find that a few objects aren't included, you can reshape them and then apply it again, but you must undo straight away when you've branched. The other tool that Create a Level hasn't got is the Blackwork Run. So I'm going to select those objects again. So the first part of the outline right down to the last bit of the toes is all selected now, and I'm going to apply the Blackwork Run. And just like the branching tool, I have to enter, I only have to enter 1 point because it will end up back there too. So you will get a tie in and tie off at that point. So branching's a little bit different. You can separate your tie and tie off, but with the Blackwork Run, you can't. You just have one click to enter the entry point, and it does it. And as you can see here, it's all one object now. I am in individual objects because here are the black parts of the eyes. If I went to colour blocks, the eyes would be included. So you can see that this is now one individual object. Now the difference with Blackwork Run too is that you can break that apart. You have got that option. So if you've made a mistake and you haven't got all your parts included, you can break it apart, and you can do that at any time. So if you go on and digitize other things, you can then still select that outline and break it apart. So it's still worth having both options. And I would probably use the Blackwork Run, for those of you who've got it, in preference to the branching tool for this particular job, because it means if I go on and do something else afterwards, I can always break it apart and fix it if I need to. Okay, so true view. Whiskers. So we need to bring our image back. And I'll go out of true view so I can see roughly where the whiskers are. If I zoom in, I can see them here. You don't need to digitize all these whiskers. You can digitize as many as you like. Probably about 5 or 6 on each side would be plenty. So again, come to your digitize tool. Start about here. This is where the more obvious ones start. Whoops, I haven't got my tool. Open object, single outline, black. Okay. And I like them to poke out. So enter. Now I am going to do these as double runs as well, and I'm going to do them as I go because you can't bulk apply double run to bulk objects, because all it does is repeat the whole set of objects after it's stitched them all single time. It'll go back and stitch the first one again after the last one's stitched. If that makes sense. So you need to select it and go to your edit toolbox and apply double run. So that means this will stitch from here out to there and back in again. The tie in and tie off will be here, which will look like the root of the, if it shows it all, it will look like the root of the hair. It's better here than over here at the end of the whisker. Okay, so that's the first one done. Now I'm going to go to the other side to do the next one, because there's no way you can get rid of any jump stitches from your hairs, your whiskers. There's nothing you can connect it to hide any jump stitches. So it's better if you can have your jump a lot longer. If your machine trims, that's fine, it'll trim. If your machine doesn't trim, it's easier to trim a long jump stitch. So let's get on and do the rest of them. I'll do the one over here. So I need to go back to my digitize, open object, and digitize my first whisker over here. Enter, select it, edit, apply double run, and then go back to the digitize toolbox, open object. Your outline and color will stay the same, so you can come across to the other side then. Enter, select it, apply double run. Edit toolbox, apply double run. Okay, so I will continue on doing those and come back when they're all done. Okay, so you can see these jump stitches going backwards and forwards across here. But as I said, most machines these days trim, so that will also give time to pull any tails of thread out, etc. too. All right, let's go back to TrueView, and there is our rabbit. Now, the first thing to do when you've got all your objects digitized is to double check that you've got them in the right stitch order in your color film. So go to individual objects and just go through. If you select the, individual objects, select the first object, and we'll go out of TrueView actually so we can see that that turns pink. We can then tab through our objects really quickly. That's actually the travel run to the other ear, and then we've got our outer ear, our other outer ear, face, then we've got our nose, our little divider, and our mouth. Then we've got our eyes, eyelashes, and then our outline. So that all looks good to me. Now if I zoom in and hide the image, I can see that I've got a jump stitch across here between the eyes, and I've got these jump stitches I mentioned before, but I can't see, I've got some connectors here. Now these connectors are tie-ins and tie-offs when you've got your connector tool showing, and the reason they're there is because there's a color change. I can't see, there's one jump stitch across there, and I'm not sure what that's from. So the next way you can check how your objects stitch through, the other jump stitches here you see are from the start and end of the design, which is in the center by default. But the other way you can check is to click off everything, and while you're in this view, if you come up here to your travel toolbar, click on the tulip and click on the travel backwards. The tulip will signify to travel to the start or end. If we go backwards, it will go to the start and everything will turn black. Then we can go through object by object and follow where each object ends. So we'll click on that and we'll go forward one object, which will be the body. And there's a little white cross, so you follow that around. So that white cross stops there. And there's a triangle there because the next object is a different color. It's the inner part of the ear. So you can't do anything about that tie off. You're going to step through to the next object. And that also has a, no it doesn't, because we did a travel run from there across to the other inner ear. So if we go to the next object by clicking forward, it will do that travel run. And then that ends up here. Here's the white cross. We'll go to the next object and it is here. The next, it ties off here. There's a little triangle here. And then it jumps. It looks like it jumps, but there is no jump stitch there. That is a colour change. So if we go forward one object, the next object to stitch is the outer ear, and that finishes there. Now, there is a jump stitch going from there to the next outer ear, I believe. So let's go forward one object and see what happens. Yes. So what I missed was a travel run between these two outer ears. So I can fix that. If I go in, I'm in individual objects. There's the travel between the inner ears. Then there's our outer ears. I can fix that and get rid of that jump stitch by creating a travel run. So what I need to do is go back to the spot where it finishes at the end of this outer ear, which is here. And make sure my white cross is there at the end of that object. Then I can go to my digitize toolbox, do a single open object, single run, and I need to do it in that color, which happens to be selected because that's the object I've selected. So I've got the right color. All I need to do now is left click on that cross and create a travel run under the head. Try not to be right on top of the other travel run. And you need to finish up when you get, you can see the jump stitch running from the end here across here to the circle. You need to finish there with a left click. Actually, I should have, I'll just backspace. If you make a mistake, go backwards with backspace. I'll put another right click in there. I'll backspace. I'll backspace twice. I'll make this a left click so that it changes direction. Then a right click there and a left click there. That's better. And enter. Now that travel run has, because we're using this tool and we've got our white cross in the right space, we've got our travel in the right space in the stitch order. Okay, let's zoom out. That jump stitch is gone. So remember, this one was a color change. Now we'll go forward one object, it'll stitch that one. It's finishing up here. And we go forward one object, it'll do the face. The face is finishing up here. If I come down here, because then there's a color change. So you'll see that there looks like there's a jump stitch, but it's actually a color change going to the nose. So that's all you've got to work out, is if the jump stitch is between two objects of the same color, then see if you can do a travel run if you've got another object that's going to stitch over the top. But if you haven't, there are some jump stitches you can't avoid, such as with the whiskers. But if you've got two objects of different colors, there'll be a dotted line between them, and there's nothing you can do about that. It is a color change. The object will tie off here, and then you'll be prompted to change the thread on your machine if you've got a single needle machine, and you'll stitch your next color. So we can just keep going through now the objects. So then the nose will stitch, then that little divider part here, then the mouth. Then it's going to stitch the eyes and the eyelashes, the other eye and the other eyelashes. This jump stitch can't be avoided because there's nothing I can go underneath. Then I need to go to the outline, is the last object. And then the whiskers, sorry. The whiskers are black as well, so that's why they didn't show up. So then I'm going through each whisker and it'll go along backwards and forwards because they're double runs. Okay, so now you've got your stitch order correct and you've got rid of any jump stitches that you shouldn't have. So that's as smooth as it can stitch. Now the other thing, I think I said at the beginning to set up your fabric. I've been changing this design quite a number of times, so I haven't got a fabric down here. But if you get your select tool and you haven't set your fabric at the beginning, you can set it here. So select your design and come up here to design, fabric, and click on the apply fabric and set a fabric. So I'm going to sew this on a medium cotton, so woven medium. I'll choose that one and go OK. That will change. I'm going to apply that to all existing objects, yes, and go OK. That will change some objects slightly in the amount of pull compensation and the stitch spacing to optimize it for that particular fabric. You still won't know how good your stitch settings are until you actually test sew. So then once you've got your fabric set and you've got all your jump stitches removed, you can then test sew. After you've test sewn, if it all looks good, then you're fine to go. If you have problems with the outline not registering very well, then you can change the pull compensation slightly on some of the bigger objects. But if you've already got a decent pull compensation, then you may need to reshape some of the objects. And I've got another video about that. It's called When Pull Compensation is Not Enough. It is. So I've got other videos on pull compensation too, so I'll put a link to those on as well. So there's at least 3 videos that you can refer to if you're not familiar with those tools. All right, I hope very much that you've enjoyed this series, and comment below if you have, and also I'd like comments on what else you would like to learn about the software. I've still got part 2 of the multi-hooping to do, and at some stage I will get back to the crocheting and do another episode on that. But in the meantime, let me know what you're struggling with or what you would like to learn. And don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell notifications so that you get notified when I upload a new video. Thank you very much.